When you think of Ultimate Custom Night, what comes to your mind? For most of you, it's probably the absolutely insane roster of 50 characters. Or maybe some of you think of one specific character, like Funtime Foxy or Toy Freddy, since both of them are known for their difficulty. But I doubt very many of you thought about the various systems in Ultimate Custom Night. You know, the camera system, the duct system, the vent system. Well, that's probably because in 5020, you only have to worry about any of these systems for the first 20 seconds or so, since, you set up the vent and duct system at the start of the night, and after you deathcoin Funtime Foxy, you just camp on one camera for the rest of the night. Now, I know this doesn't really account for no deathcoin strategies or any of the insanely sweaty mods like Hopeless Pursuit, but you still get the point. These systems are not a super important part of Ultimate Custom Night. However, what if I told you that each of these systems had their own individual fan game made by the Yi-Girl? There's Camera System Custom Night, Duct System Custom Night, and the focus of this video, Vent System Custom Night. Hello everyone, my name is Joe Ride, and this is my journey to beating Clanging Catastrophe, the max mode of Vent System Custom Night. Vent System Custom Night is not like a traditional FNAF game where you sit in an office and check cameras to see where characters are. In Vent System Custom Night, everything you need is laid out in front of you on one screen. Like the vent system from Ultimate Custom Night, these vents include 3 different paths for animatronics to take to reach you, as well as 3 vent snares you can use to prevent them from doing so. However, unlike Ultimate Custom Night, you have to use these snares as there are no doors for you to close, which makes sense. I mean, there's no office. Vent System Custom Night also features 3 new ways to repel animatronics. There's the screw, the shock, and the spray bottle, and all 3 work pretty similarly. Certain characters are repelled by certain items, and you must drag the item to this corresponding character. Speaking of characters, let's talk about the characters and how you can defend yourself against them. Mangle will choose a vent snare to go to and will spend the whole night trying to get through that one vent snare. However, Mangle cannot be repelled by the snare. Instead, you must drag the screw to Mangle to push them back. Grim Foxy will run towards one of the vent snares, indicated by this sound cue. You must close whichever vent snare they are running towards. Jacobani will occasionally pop up on the left of your screen, and you must drag the spray bottle to him, otherwise he will buff each character. Each time you fail to repel him, the animatronics will get more and more difficult, so make sure you don't let him get away too many times. Lolbit will make her way to your vent opening. Once she does so, she will cause a visual distraction and prevent you from grabbing items or closing vent snare. To make her go away, type LOL on your keyboard. Chipper's Revenge will teleport around the vents randomly. If he teleports on top of a snare, close it to make him go away. If he teleports past the snares, use the screw on him to make him go away. Molten Freddy will spawn in a random spot in the vents, indicated by this sound cue. Drag the shock to make him go away. Music Man will spawn in front of your vent opening and bang his cymbals together. Drag the shock to him to make him go away. Nightmare Chica will spawn at the vent opening and move backwards. Close whichever vent snare she tries to go through. If she makes it past the vent snare, you can use the spray bottle to send her back. Side note, once you send her back, she will try to go through the same vent snare that she just went through, so you don't have to wait for her, you can just close whichever one she was just at. Nightmare Fredbear will spawn in front of the vent openings indicated by this sound cue. The sound cue will pan to the left or right to indicate he is at your left or right snare. If he's in the middle, the laugh will pan to both sides. He will also show up in front of whichever vent he's at, though he's transparent, making him a bit hard to see. Nightmare is just like Nightmare Fredbear, but with no visual cue, so you really need to make sure you're paying attention to sound cues. Nightmare Freddy will spawn Freddles on top of the snares. Close the snares that the Freddles are at to make them go away. Once a Freddle fully materializes, it's game over. Pat Pat will randomly disable a vent snare, indicated by his icon appearing on top of the disabled vent snare. Drag the shock to the opposite vent snare that he disabled to get rid of him. If he's in the middle, drag the shock there instead. Fun fact, Pat Pat is actually broken, so he does nothing. But that's what he's supposed to. Phantom Freddy will occasionally spawn on top of a closed vent snare. Changing the snare while he is active will result in a non-lethal jump scare. To get rid of him, you just have to wait for him to go away. Rockstar Foxy will send Meebird down one of the paths. Just click on Meebird to get rid of him. Be careful though, because Meebird's hitbox is honestly really hard to hit. I found it easier to just click him when he reached a corner because it made him a lot more consistent and easier to predict. Withered Bonnie and Withered Chica are functionally the same animatronic. They will move towards one of the vent snares, and all you have to do is close the snare they are trying to get through. Their mechanic is the most similar to how the vent system worked in vanilla UCN. Now, with all the characters out of the way, we can get into the max mode of this game, Clanging Catastrophe. This mode is currently ranked number 569 on the max mode list main list and number 1334 on the AML as of writing the script. In other words, it's not that hard. It took me a minute to get used to because there's always something happening and you always have to be flicking your mouse to grab items and then flick it back to the animatronic, and I honestly have pretty garbage aim, so it took some getting used to. There's no real cycle to this mode, it's all reaction based, so it's kind of hard to give a guide on how to beat it, but instead I can give you some tips on how I beat it. First of all, you don't have to be the fastest in the world. Going too fast can get you killed if you're anything like me and your precision is a bit wonky. Second, anticipate characters. Some characters tend to sync up, like Withered Chica and Withered Bonnie, and that's okay. You just have to make sure you're ready to close the next snare once the threat is gone. This also means don't wait until the last second to deal with threats. Since every single character is reaction based, you don't have to guess when any character will attack, so be ready. For example, don't wait until Withered Bonnie is close to your snare to close it. Once you know what path he's going down, you can close off the corresponding snare, and if you need to change it to do with other characters, that's okay, just make sure you put the snare back once you're done so that Bonnie doesn't kill you. Another example of this that actually helps a lot in my opinion is pay attention to Lolbit. It's easy for her to catch you off guard, so if you know when she's about to attack, you can start spamming LOL preemptively. I've seen people say that it's easier to spam LOL the whole night, but I found it kind of difficult to multitask, so I only typed LOL when Lolbit was near, and that worked just fine for me. I want to add that even though Pat Pat is broken, you should still get rid of him when you can, because if Molten Freddy spawns nearby, you may accidentally shock Pat Pat instead of Molten Freddy without even realizing and die to that, and the same can happen if Music Man spawns. The game specifies that the shock needs to be on the opposite snare that Pat Pat disabled, but if you drag it to that general direction, you'll get it no problem, so don't worry about that. Finally, don't let yourself get overwhelmed. There are kind of a lot of characters in this game, so it can get a little overwhelming, but if you take time to practice each character's mechanic, it can make the mode easier overall since you know what to expect from every character. I started playing this mode on the side because I was getting frustrated with the main mode I've been attempting these past few weeks, and it was pretty easy to pick up. I didn't want to jump straight into it because I'm bad at video games, so I started with the first 4 characters and just added 4 each time until all of them were on. Like I said earlier, it took me a minute to get used to, but once I started to feel it, I started to get good runs that were consistent. The night only lasts 5 minutes, displayed in-game by a timer that counts down from 300. I pretty quickly started to get runs under 100 seconds. Like I said, this mode isn't really that hard. It probably took me somewhere around 20 to 30 minutes to beat in total, so yeah, all in all, pretty easy mode, and it's fun too. The whole time I was attempting this mode, I was thinking of ways to turn it into a YouTube video. I thought about trying to beat it at the same time as Whispering Revenge from Duct System Custom Night, but I think that's like actually impossible. Well, I mean, probably not impossible, but harder than each game's max mode. Plus, Duct System Custom Night is like not really that fun. Like, I don't really enjoy it. The audio lore is so fucking small for no reason, and the whole bottom shelf of characters is all like OG, like hoax characters from like FNAF 1 and 2. That one's not really like a bad thing. I just think it's kind of funny. Genuinely the first max mode ever to have Toy Golden Freddy as one of the characters. Anyways, duct plus vent system combo was a no-go. I started attempting Clanging Catastrophe Burned, which is Clanging Catastrophe, but you have to let Jack O'Bonney buff the other characters every single time he appears, which I know it doesn't seem like a huge change, but the mode is an entire 400 spots ahead of regular Clanging Catastrophe, so I'm just gonna let that speak for itself. And like, for the record, I'm not good enough at video games to pull that off, at least not yet. I don't know, maybe someday I'll do it, but not today. Anyways, where were we? Oh, yeah, Clanging Catastrophe no sound. In case you forgot, sound cues are like really important in this game. I guess technically they're not necessary since, you know, I did this, but they're extremely helpful and just make the game a lot easier and a lot more fun to play because, you know, you get to know when somebody's attacking you without having to watch their every move. That being said, every character in this game has some sort of visual cue that makes it possible for me to tell when they are attacking. Well, every character except one. That's right. Remember that one time I said that Nightmare didn't have a visual cue? Well, this is why that is important. Because if you can't see him and you can't hear anyone, how am I supposed to know when he's attacking? Well, that's the funny part. I don't. Yeah, I had a lot of deaths to Nightmare on this challenge, and understandably so. I mean, how am I supposed to predict him if I can't even hear him? Well, if we take a look at this footage, you can see me kind of switching between the snares even when there's not really any immediate threat. You know, I'm kind of just like spamming the snares, just turning them on. Well, that is actually to get rid of Nightmare. I know. Yeah, since you can't hear him and you just like don't really know when he's there, you kind of just have to take precautionary action and just like rapidly close the snares to make sure that he doesn't show up. And I mean, it works. Obviously, I died a lot in this challenge because it's hard, but it works. I mean, I won, and I don't know if there's another way to do it because he's impossible to predict without sound, and so the only other option you have is guesswork. And I guess this technically isn't guesswork since I'm just closing everything off, but still, it's not completely optimal, but it's the most optimal I think you can possibly get. That doesn't mean it wasn't fucking annoying, though. What the fuck do you even want me to do, bro? It's okay, I won on my next attempt. The only character that gave me trouble besides Nightmare was Molten Freddy, and that's just because he's easy to forget about. If you're not paying attention, then he can be easy to miss because you can't hear his sound cue. So you just have to make sure you're keeping an eye out for his icon popping up on the screen. And that's Clanging Catastrophe, no sound. As far as I'm aware, I'm the only person who's done this. Someone has done Clanging Catastrophe burned without any audio, which is a lot more impressive and definitely would count as verification for what I just did. But it's okay. I'm still proud of myself because it's just a cool achievement nonetheless. It took me around half an hour to 40 minutes. It wasn't that bad. I really recommend it to anyone who, wants to try it out. I think it's a lot of fun. It's not that hard. It's good practice if you want to get better at max modes, I think. It definitely helps with your attention to the smaller details because you can't hear, so you have to make sure your other senses are heightened. And yeah, it's a cool mode, even if it's not like an official max mode. This is just a self-imposed challenge, but it's still cool. So there it is, Vent System Custom Night. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know that neither of the modes in this video were really that difficult, but they were still cool enough to make a video about them. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like and subscribe. I make FNAF challenge videos like this one, but I do have some non-FNAF stuff planned actually, so be on the lookout for that too. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this in the comments, or if there's a challenge you want me to do, you can suggest that in the comments too. I'd love to see it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching. Sorry it took so long to get another video out, but I'm here. I beat the mode and then I sat down and edited the entire thing in one sitting, and it was worth it because I've wanted to get a video out for so long. I haven't, but here we are. I'm so happy that I've gotten this done. So yeah, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the... Oh wait, no. The links to the completions will be in the description below. Okay, that's it. See you in the next one.